Hey, what's up, guys? Neverender here, and I'm kind of excited. I get to do a video today on technical stuff about game. I've been doing basically strictly intergame on the blog for the last 3 or 4 weeks because we've been posting videos from the interview I did with Braddock, and I mean that content's probably a lot better than what I'll give you here. But I'm still pretty excited to be giving you guys some technical help. Today I'm going to be talking about kind of just like the messiness of game. I think guys who get into game initially have the inaccurate vision of what it looks like to pull a girl. Everything from open to close. I'm going to talk about just kind of how the game it's not as smooth and sexy as people make it out to be. A lot of people say this game in particular is not smooth and it is not sexy. It's messy and it's a clusterfuck. But in my head, I still like to think that it is really smooth and sexy, but just kind of in a different way. And I guess I'll elaborate on that a little bit more as we get into it. But I want to just kind of knock off some common misconceptions guys who are either in the beginning stages or intermediate stages of the game have that might be limiting your results. And let's start right off the open. First thing about the open, you're not blown out until you're fucking blown out, man. Until a girl literally just starts walking off and you can't stop her, or she tells you to go please go away. That is the time where you're actually blown out. If you just go up to a girl and you open, and when you open she freezes or she back turns or she stares at you awkwardly or anything like that, that's not a blowout. Alright, I think guys have this impression that if you go up to a girl and you're like, you are fucking gorgeous, you go up to her and you say that, if she just doesn't melt right then and there, you're done, you got blown out. And that's not the case at all. Pretty much every night, you guys, I'll go out and I'll give an open, and the girl will back turn, or you'll say no thank you, or I have a boyfriend or something like that. She'll say that, and I will pull her back in, and I'll just keep going and I'll plow, and a lot of times it gets really good results. Something to kind of help reinforce this principle in your mind is think about if you were out in a nightclub and the hottest girl ever came up to you and she's like, who the hell are you? If a girl came up and did that to you, you'd be a little put off guard, right? I mean, you might be able to receive it well, but hell, I've never had that happen to me, so I'm not even sure how I would handle it, and I'm pretty comfortable in most any social situation that can go down in a nightclub. But it's very possible if a girl came up and said that to you, you'd be kind of frozen by it. You wouldn't be sure how to react to that. And that happens a lot with girls. I mean, you can be talking to a girl and your open can be on point and you make her feel this huge rush of life in her when you open her and she loves you for it, but she doesn't really know how to express it. The only way she knows how to express it is to kind of be quiet, maybe to back turn you, or to be kind of awkward about it. Or even if you just opening her in front of her friends, she won't feel comfortable with it. And it takes some time to warm her up. So always plow until the bitter end, and in that point where she's like, can you please go away? Or she actually does walk off and you trying to pull her back doesn't work, and then you're blown out. But yeah, just really keep that in mind. Again, the reoccurring theme about this whole video is that game can be messy, but at the same time really sexy. And when it comes to opening for me, I do view it as really, really sexy. If I go up and I open a girl and I drop something really direct on her, or whatever I drop on her, and she resists it at first, but I'm so in my own reality, I'm so confident that what I'm offering is the shit, that I can bring her back in, and I'm like, no, where are you going? Nah. You're staying right here. We're gonna get to know each other. Who the hell are you? And when you're doing that, it just comes off as really badass, and a girl's really gonna appreciate that kind of stuff, and she'll warm up in time. And that's just kind of the headspace I have with it, and I think it's really, really important. All right, moving on. You can reopen. Again, sticking with, still on opening now. Guys think just because you take your shot at the girl, you never get another shot at her, which is so untrue. For one, there have been nights where I've gone out and I've opened a girl, gotten blown out, and then opened the same girl later in the night, and she didn't even remember me from earlier. Girls have a really short-term memory. They get they're getting hit on by hundreds of guys every night or whatever, shit ton of guys every night. Probably not hundreds of guys, but shit ton of guys every night. It's very possible when you opened her, she just didn't get a good look at you, didn't get a chance to take you all in. Maybe she had to go somewhere, and you reopen, and she is totally different this time around. It also shows a lot of confidence. Again, it's kind of like when you're plowing when you first open. It shows a lot of badass like confidence, high self-esteem, real value to a girl when you can blow her out, or when she can blow you out, and you're not even fazed by it, and you're just gonna come back again later. You don't want to be like bugging girls all night. Obviously, if you get blown out a few times by a girl, just leave her alone. It's done. It's not a big deal. But just because you get blown out once, if you see that girl later in the night, don't be afraid to pull the trigger again. Good things can happen. I'm telling you. And I kind of want to go on a more bigger, quickly diving into inner game topic about opening and reopening. Keep in mind that you have an infinite number of opens, and there's an infinite number of girls out there. I had this bad belief when I was first starting out in game. If I saw a really hot girl, I might have approach anxiety, but what would actually keep me from opening would be this fear that if I open this girl and I get blown out, I will never get a shot at that girl again, which is a really bad scarcity mindset. It's like, oh, that girl's so hot. I would love to talk to her, but if it doesn't work out, that's my only shot, and then I'll be ruined forever. Fuck that attitude. One, there's an infinite number of hot girls out there. Infinite number of tens. Like I firmly believe, there's billions and billions of girls in this world. You're gonna get an infinite crack at it. Whenever you go out, you guys push every set to the ground, open everybody you want to talk to, go hard, and never have this idea you only get one crack at a girl. Because there's a billion girls just like her. I promise you. Additionally, there's a really good chance that as time goes by, that girl's not going to remember you anyway. I've had plenty of situations now where I've opened a girl who I've opened maybe 6 months to a year ago, and she doesn't remember who I am, so we're playing from like a clean slate right now. It's not a big deal. Or I've had situations where I've opened a girl and she remembers me and I don't remember her. Keep in mind, hot girls get hit on all the time, you guys. They have tons and tons of experiences. They're not going to remember every guy they talk to. And it just kind of feeds more into that idea there's an infinite amount of opens available to you. Alright, moving on. Next point, mini crushing. Sometimes if you're like an intermediate level and you're able to open and start getting into sets and like things start going well for a little bit and you're able to connect with the girl, and then all of a sudden things completely fall apart, one of your problems could be that you start mini crushing on girls. You start to get kind of a neediness about the girl. The phrase of death is, I think I actually like this girl. The second you tell yourself that, you need to pump the brakes right then and there, because you're going to fuck yourself over now. When you get attached, because when you start thinking, like, I actually like this girl, you start to get attached to the outcome. You start to slip into a scarcity mindset. You start worrying whether or not this girl likes you, and you start getting in your own head. A girl's really good at detecting those kind of sub-communications, those little adjustments you'll make in your behavior when she realizes you're starting to go into your head, and she'll instantly lose attraction. Probably happens to me every night where I'll start to think I actually like this girl, and I have to stop myself from thinking with that like kind of attitude. You just pump the brakes, I'm like, hold on, Jake. She's just a girl. It's not a big deal. Moving on. Like, I'm gonna enjoy my time with her, but I don't know anything about her. Keep the big picture stuff in mind too, you guys. I've had interactions with girls that went amazing. We talked for hours and hours, and we hung out, and it was great. And then we hung out again, and we talked for hours and hours, and it was great. I've had girls who I've spent like a month, 2 months with, and during that month or 2 months, I thought they were amazing people. And then out of nowhere, I realized, oh my god, this person sucks. Like, I can't stand this person. And that's just the reality that you don't know somebody until you've spent a ton of time with them, and that's it. So really keep in mind, you might realize this girl is not for you at all tonight. You might realize it a month from now. But keep your head on your shoulders, and when you're not going to decide whether or not you really like a girl until some serious time has gone by and you really know you really like the girl. All right. Like, to sum that up though, if you ever find yourself slipping into the point where you start mini crushing on girls, just pull yourself out of that right away, because that is going to cause huge problems for you. Alright, some thoughts on physical escalation. This is pretty key too, kind of with that theme of like getting messy sometimes. Physical escalation, in my opinion, it starts off with acting on your own intentions, with a little bit. Okay, you never want to. I really believe like physical escalations. You act on your own intentions, and then you calibrate after. So if you want to pull a girl into you and hold her, you pull her in and hold her. If you feel the resistance after you make the move, then you can let it go. Obviously, you're not like raping girls in the club. Yeah, I mean, if she doesn't want to kiss you, she's not going to kiss you. But you want to, when you actually make moves to physically escalate, you want to go in without any hesitation, like 100% all intent there. If a girl can pick up on you like hesitating and all, or she can pick up on you maybe trying to calibrate, like if she can tell like you're trying to make a move on her, but you're kind of looking to see how she responds, and if she can sense that you're like kind of like trying to like gauge her response levels, it's gonna make things uncomfortable for her, and she's automatically gonna resist. There's times where I see guys who they could make out with the girl, or they could pull the girl in, but they don't do it, but because they do it kind of like half-heartedly, or they do it with a little bit of hesitation because they're trying to calibrate, or they're just nervous, the girl resists it, where even though she was actually good to go and he made the move at the right time, he didn't go in with 100% like clarity in his attention. So escalate on your own terms first and then calibrate after. There's kind of like this like third little weird caveat though, which is kind of like like the strategic aspect to it. I'm not really a big believer in being super gamey, but I mean what makes Braddock, for example, like brilliant at game is that he is able to move naturally through the venue and through his interactions, but at the same time he's very like in tune with like kind of like the strategic and like like the strategical aspects of the game. Like he understands like physical escalation has like a certain push pull to it. So just because you are acting on your intentions and you want to bring a girl in, you want to kiss her, or you want to hold her or whatever, you still have to break that physical escalation at different times as a way to keep building tension. I mean, if you just make out with a girl forever, the tension gets released too much. Or if you just hold hands with a girl forever, the tension gets released. Braddock's really good at being able to act on his own intentions physically, calibrate after the facts, and at the same time, he knows when not to push-pull and build tension with his physical escalation. That really only comes with time and kind of having a strong grasp on like what physical push-pull is, which we can do an audio on, and what tension is, which I know we're going to talk to Braddock about in the next interview we do with him. Like what is tension, how to build tension, and so on. But like being kind of aware of that third little caveat about like tension and push-pull is really important while physically escalating. But at the same time, physical escalation, getting back to like the focus of this audio, physical escalation, it's not always smooth, and a lot of times it's never going to be. Well, you'll get better, obviously, at sensing like, okay, and this is a good time to go for a makeout. This is a good time to physically escalate. That's gonna like you don't even have to think about that. Your brain's just gonna start getting in tune with it. But there's plenty of times where like a girl like wants to make out with you, which she won't, maybe because she's like in front of her friends or something like that. But you just have to handle that, and it's real, and like that's why I think it's messy but sexy at the same time, because if a girl tries to resist physical escalation, if you handle it really well and don't get fazed by it, she might even be resisting physical escalation just to test you. But when you handle that really well and just move on and then try again later in like a really smooth way, that's so sexy. So it's messy but sexy at the same time. So, like I love when I'm really in the zone, I feel like I'm just watching myself game like as like a third person, and I love watching myself handle like the shit she puts up with, while still maintaining like really strong eye contact and not being fazed by whatever test she puts in front of me or whatever messiness comes our way. Finally, just some quick thoughts on pulling. Pulling, the same sort of thing. I mean, it's not always going to be like you're hanging out with a girl and you're like, all right, hey, let's get out of here. There's an after party. Let's go. And you just take her to the after party, and she's just good with it. Or you can just say, or if you're like making out with her and you look at her and you just have like really good eye contact and you smile and say, let's get out of here. Sometimes she'll leave right away, but sometimes she won't. A lot of times she won't. A lot of times she has to say bye to her friends. A lot of times she needs to get her phone or her coat, or has all these objections about how she's going to get home and the logistics of the whole situation. And you have a lot of shit you need to overcome and handle. And that'll be an audio for a different day. But just understand, like, nothing is ever going to be... There's not too often where the situation is just, like, perfectly smooth. It happens, but, the vast majority of the time, you're going to have to at least overcome some bullshit. And that's part of the game, and that's what makes it fun. I mean, if it was perfectly smooth from beginning to end, that wouldn't be really any fun at all. I mean, like, the crazy bullshit that happens is what creates the adventure. To put this in the context of, like, a field report, like, last night, I met up with a girl at a club who we had spent time together before, and we had hooked up before, and she's a gorgeous girl, really really hot, but she's with a friend, and she wants to hook up. But we have to take care of her friend. Like, her friend needs to find a guy. So when I get to the club, I bring a friend with me, and I haven't met the girl's friend yet, but I'm hoping she's hot because the girl's really hot, and I met one of that girl's friends before, and she was gorgeous also. But we get to the club, and it turns out that the girl's friend really isn't that hot, and my buddy isn't into her, which is unfortunate, but that's just the way it goes. But that's on me. Now I have to try to figure out how to make this situation happen still, because the girl's friend needs to have a guy, otherwise the girl can't go home with me because she can't ditch her friend. So I thought about maybe trying to find another guy in the venue, but I thought it might actually be better if I hit up somebody I knew, because it'd be easier for arranging logistics. I contacted a couple buddies but couldn't hear back from it, and then I finally hit up one of my roommates, who doesn't go out a lot, but obviously he's like a guy. He's not going to complain about, like, you know, a girl coming home and hanging out with him. So I hit him up, and he's like down, but he says he needs to get drunk first. So I have to give it some time. So my roommate starts drinking back at the condo, and I'm like cracking up because I'm texting him trying to make sure he feels comfortable, because he's getting himself a little nervous. While at the same time in the club, my girl, she's really really hot, but she's kind of a maniac. She's getting hit on guys constantly, and I'm having fun hanging out with my buddy, and we're just shooting the shit. But like, my girl goes up on on a dance pole and starts like doing starts dancing on the pole, and she works as a stripper. So I mean, she's amazing, and like guys are like making it rain and stuff, and guys are constantly trying to come up and hit on her, and I'm okay with it like to a certain extent. But if some guy gets out of line, I have to like come in. Like, one guy, for example, came up with $100 bill and wanted to get a lap dance from her, and I had to come in. I almost got in a fight because I had to get this guy to back off. Meanwhile, I'm still trying to text my roommate, making sure he's feeling okay. And finally, after like 2 hours of just like chaos and messiness, spilled drinks and near fights and arranging logistics, yada yada yada, I finally get her back to my place along with her friend. And we get back to my place, and my roommate's like, kind of ready to go. But then my other buddy is still in the condo, and he doesn't want to leave for some reason. So he's kind of creating this weird situation where he's like kind of like a third wheel. So I have to kind of manage that too, to get him out. And then finally he calls it quits for the night, and then we make it happen. But like, that's just like this example of like, and that like, it was quite an adventure, but at the same time it was relatively smooth. Like, that was like. I mean, in terms of like the hell I had to go through to get that whole night to happen, it was probably like I don't know, probably like a 7 or an 8. It was nothing crazy. But like at the same time, like I look back on the night, and there's some things I would have liked to have done differently in the way I would have handled it, and I'd like to talk to Braddock about it and ask like how he would have handled some various situations so I can improve on that. And make it even smoother next time. But at the same time, I thought I'd handled the whole night really really smoothly, and I was really proud of the way it all went down. And that's just like kind of like, I think that's a great illustration to kind of sum up this audio about how from beginning to end, you guys, game is kind of messy sometimes, but it can be really sexy the way you handle it, and take pride in the way you handle it. Alright guys, that's it for now. I'll talk to you guys later in the week, and yeah, that's it. Peace.